Hello and welcome back. We are about to start the top 8 in Fort Wayne, Indiana. My name is Kenny Wisdom. I'm joined by Ross Coppin, guest commentator, two-time Worlds finalist. What else can you say? Everyone knows Ross. Fortunately, missed top 8.
Yeah.
You were 12th?
11th, I think.
11th, so it's a few places. It's back-to-back top 16s for you, so still impressive. Still good.
Mixed feelings, I guess.
Yeah. The match we have today is going to be Colin Moll on your left, playing Big Basics Garbodor, versus Dustin Zimmerman on your right, playing the Virizian Mewtwo deck. What do you think of this matchup in general? Do you have any thoughts on it?
Well, I don't know the decks too well, but these are two very great players. They've been playing a long time. Colin was a top 4 at U.S. Nationals years ago, and Dustin took third or fourth?
Third at Worlds.
Third this past World, so two longtime players, and they're both playing interesting decks.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'll be a pretty good match. We do have 75 minutes today. As you can see, it'll be best of 3, 75 minutes, which should be enough time for complete 3 games if that's what happens. Yeah, Dustin said that he didn't like the matchup, right, Mike?
What's up?
Dustin said he didn't like the matchup, right?
Yeah, he said it was 50-50, but he said it very hesitantly.
Right. So,
50-50.
So Dustin seems to think it's about 50-50. Unfortunately, we don't have the players' deck lists, but hopefully we'll be able to kind of infer. It looks like Dustin's going to go first? Colin's going to go first. So yeah, other matchups, we're going to have all the matchups posted on our Facebook page, facebook.com/OTP Pokemon. Check that out. So I guess the main thing is that Colin's, his Garbodors are basically not relevant at all, so that's just a few dead cards in his deck.
Yeah, I suppose. So Dustin's playing Virizian
Mewtwo.
Virizian Mewtwo's no Genesect?
No.
One.
Oh, he does have a Genesect. Okay.
Okay.
And I suppose the Virizian, the healing.
Yeah, well, I mean, Colin may have lasers, so
that's true.
Shutting down the Virizian could be relevant in that aspect.
That's definitely true. And I know Colin has heavy focused on Landorus. There's no Tornadus, I don't think, in Colin's list that we saw. Just Mewtwo's and Landoruses, and just pretty basic. A little different from Grant McClellan's winning list in Vancouver last week. But
so we very well may see a Mewtwo war happen in a few of these games.
Yeah, we could see Mewtwo going back to States 2012 style.
Yeah.
And you gotta think that Dustin's advantage there, right? I mean, he's able to get energy out more consistently than Colin.
Yeah, that's true. Although it's always dangerous. I mean, at least in past formats, you always had the risk of if you power up Mewtwo, then you face the DC catcher Mewtwo laser knockout.
Right.
So Virizian powering up the Mewtwo's could be a risky play. We'll have to see how the games turn out.
Right. I guess it's also a little bit skewed because I don't know how many DCEs Dustin has access to, but the powering up Mewtwo's with DCEs and being willing to commit more of your energy to Mewtwo's in general is better than having to Emerald Slash onto them. It saves you
exactly. Yeah, just because once a powered Mewtwo is an easier target than unpowered Mewtwo, so that the DCs will be crucial. I assume both players are probably playing 4, but
yeah, I would assume.
So the matchup very well could revolve around that.
Seems like it will. Do you think Landorus and Virizian have any play between each other? Any interesting numbers on those, or
it's hard to say. I haven't played anything nearly like this matchup. Played Landorus a lot last year, but not against new stuff like Virizian.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we've seen this matchup on stream in either, at least the events I've been at. Virizian wasn't really too big in Washington, and this Virizian Mewtwo deck in particular hasn't been big until basically this week.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it should be very interesting. Two kind of new decks. Virizian we've seen, but the Mewtwo version is new, and Landorus is come back from the dead out of nowhere, surprisingly.
Right. So okay. So you got to commit, Ross. Who do you think's gonna win? In your heart of hearts, what do you think the matchup's like?
Oh man. Let's see. I'll go with Landers that won me estates last year,
All right.
and I assume you guys will probably be rooting for Dustin a bit.
So you're going for Colin. I love Colin too. Dustin and Colin are both pretty close friends of mine. Either way, one of them going to be in top 4.
No.
And then I believe whoever wins this match will be playing against Plasma or an unknown deck. The one deck in the top 8 that we don't know. We'll get that information.
JW. Let's see. He played Virizian Mewtwo Buffalant. Yeah, I played him a couple rounds ago.
Is Dustin playing Buffalants? Or lots of them?
I actually don't know.
Okay.
Yep, it just started.
Okay, so we started the game. Colin's going first. He starts a Mewtwo EX. Can you see the screen all right, Ross?
Yeah.
Okay. Versus a Buffalant. Gonna drop a Trebush on the bench. Maybe? Thinking about it. Again, those Trebushes are something that, I mean, now that he has Boofer, that adds another ability
that's
to this.
true.
So they are more relevant now. I still don't think they're at their best. They're not completely shutting down the. They're not completely shutting down the deck like they do in something like Blastoise or even like a Plasma. They're like those abilities aren't quite as crucial, but
yeah, it won't be as centrally focused, but it could matter. I mean, turning off Boofer makes a powered Buffalant a one-hit KO for just a DC on Mewtwo, which could be big.
Definitely.
Yeah, this is taking me back to when I played this in multiple states last year. That Mewtwo start when you're playing against a deck with Mewtwo is very iffy because do you attach the DC and start hitting something? Because then, what if they have switched Mewtwo DC Laser, then now you're behind.
Yep, I remember those days, especially with like the Darkrai Mewtwo decks and like energy switches and plus powers, and you could easily get 2-3 energy on a Mewtwo plus a plus power, and it'd be insane.
Yeah, those decks had a few more ways of powering Mewtwo even than these.
Yeah, so we see a Floatstone on an active Mewtwo on Colin's side. He heavy balls for a Landorus, decides to drop the Trubbish, and then attaches to the Landorus. Looks like he's gonna be looking just a Hammerhead. He plays an N. Both players shuffling for that. Landorus, luckily, is pretty good against Buffalant. I mean, weakness basically undoes what.
I'd say this is a very, very strong start for Colin. He's the Landorus down, he has the Trubbish down, he's going to get a turn 1 attack with weakness.
Yeah, so we see a Laser, some DCEs and energy, a Floatstone, I think a Landorus in the back too for Colin.
I see a Mr. Mime in Dustin's hand. That's going to be big, it looks like.
Yeah, that'll be pretty relevant, especially. Usually, I mean, at least in my experience in those old formats where you had Mewtwo on Mewtwo, the game would kind of devolve into that. It would start with other things, and then later in the game, you would kind of just trade Mewtwo's for the last 2 or 4 prizes.
Right.
So it seems like the Mime might help in a big way early game, and it's not really relevant versus Mewtwo, but if it can shore up some damage early game, maybe it'll make it so that Colin's Mewtwo just aren't as good.
Yeah, so it's another thing the Garbodor could turn off in this matchup.
Definitely. And so we do see we see a Hammerhead on the Buffalant, as well as a Laser. Dustin drops a Mewtwo and a Mime, and it's really too bad. I mean, Colin going first, I think, is so huge because Dustin is. I mean, he has Mewtwo, he has Buffalant, but he has really no way of attacking on turn 1, and so it's if Colin can get ahead enough. I mean, by the time that Dustin attacks and Emerald Slashes, that's what he wants to do. Colin can be ready to 150 with Landorus. So
definitely, yeah. The new rules coming up in a couple weeks. These are the exact situations that will, I think, kind of make it more fair. Where the fast deck, in this case, Colin, is going to get 2 hits probably before Dustin can respond.
Right, and so we see Dustin catching up the Trubbish. He lasers it. They get tails. And he junipers away his hand. So he has a Floatstone on the Mewtwo, so drops a Tropius too.
Interesting tech.
Do you think that will affect the matchup much?
It's hard to say. I guess I'm thinking still in terms of Blastoise. Does Dustin run Bangle?
I don't think these decks usually do.
Okay.
So I'm not quite sure. Again, we don't have players deck list, unfortunately.
Yeah, I suppose the non-EX attackers are somewhat secondary.
Yeah. And Dustin considering retreating. Again, Dustin just has nothing to do on turn 1, so Um, he's already though he has not attached, so he can do the little Professor Oak's new theory attack with the Tropius
Yeah,
if he
yeah,
wants, or
the return.
yeah, which he looks like he might do.
Yeah,
That is a waste of
probably
an energy
six.
though. He might want to just attach an energy to the Virizion, but he has no energy, so
Oh,
that's
yeah.
just sets Dustin back another turn. I mean, that's we already said how he can't attack until turn 2, and now he can't attack until turn 3, so it's gonna be huge. And in general, like you've been playing this format a fair amount. When do you feel that games are really decided? Like, do you feel like it's just pretty early, or do you feel like there's enough comeback cards to rally back? Or
It's hard to say. I think with Blastoise, which is what I've been primarily playing, there's definitely a lot of comeback options because you can just start taking prizes again and again.
right,
But I think it's very matchup dependent because these other decks that do damage, kind of build up damage. It's hard to come from behind, but it'll be interesting. With this Mewtwo war, a Mewtwo counter plus N could turn around a game.
right. So we see Colin takes his turn. He just retreats the Trubbish with a Float Stone, and he attaches to his Landorus. He does not play a supporter or a laser, and he's going to go ahead and Hammerhead for 30. Nothing on the bench because of Mr. Mime. And now he's going to get End. A lot of shuffling. I know you haven't been in commentary yet, Ross, but the bad part about commentary is all the shuffling players are doing now between Ultra Balls and Ends, and there's just a lot of time to kill. But Colin definitely looks to be in a pretty solid position.
Yeah,
I mean, Dustin's going to be looking for his first energy here. Again, Dustin top forward Worlds last year, so he has the invite and everything. At this point, they're just playing for the prizes and the big prize, which is the travel money for nationals. So
definitely. Yep.
definitely lowers the scooping.
Well, yeah,
There's no travel award.
When you go to nationals, there is. You don't know what you're talking about. Mike Newman interrupting. So the whole scooping factor of this past couple of years has just been taken out because now you're playing for a lot, even if you have the invite.
right. Well, I mean, it's a regional championship, I think, and Dustin's from Indiana. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure he would love to win his home championship, get a nice trophy, regardless of the
Anything
points
else.
involved.
Definitely. And Dustin has said in the past in an interview for the TopCut.net where he just said, "Sorry if I grinch you, but I want to win as many events as I possibly can."
Sure.
So it looks like he does attach to the Tropius. Looks like he's gonna use the attack. The Landers
Yeah.
takes a single damage, and
Still nothing attached to a kind of a better attacker for Dustin.
so if you're Colin, what are you looking for here? Like, do you think you can just touch the fighting to the Landorus and then find a laser and 180 that Virizion if you have a catcher? Like, do you get that aggressive immediately?
That's hard to say. It's really, I mean, leaving your Landorus Bear fighting energy is usually pretty risky. You have to really, sometimes you do that late game when you're kind of planning out how you're going to take 6 prizes. But I would say in this spot, Dustin doesn't have really any threatening attackers, so Colin might just want to make him power up something, devote
Right.
resources in a particular direction before he commits more of like the big 150 attack.
Right, so we see is Colin ultra balling for catcher?
Yeah, something's
Wait, what? Did we miss something? I don't see what he.
he
Oh. Maybe he ultra balled for the Garbodor, put it in his hand, and then there's a Skyline in his discard pile. Sorry, he
Oh.
just kind of did that a little bit out of order. So it looks like he's just going for the more conservative route, which is just knocking out the Buffalon, taking
yeah,
his
that's a strong play.
due to weakness, Landorus can knock out the Buffalon. Not even with the 3 energy attack, just with the basic one. So now he's building up 2 Landoruses and really just diversifying his threats. Again, Dustin has absolutely nothing.
And it looks like he put 30 on the Virizion thanks to Garbodor shutting off Mr. Mime.
Yeah, Garbodor has a float stone on it. DC and an Eviolite.
Wow,
just like old
Eviolite.
days.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting to play Eviolite when you trying to get float stones on your Mewtwo's and stuff, but I guess without the I guess you can play it conservatively, and no bangles gives you a little bit of room too.
Yeah, the Eviolite probably won't matter as much with Verbanks being played, perhaps by both players, since the extra 30 will kind of exactly negate the minus 20 of Eviolite.
Definitely. And it seems like so. If you're Dustin here, do you think he's just going to devote resources to the Mewtwo's and try and incite the Mewtwo war, just because he knows he's so far behind on trying to Virizion?
Yeah, it looks like he's going that direction, and it's a risky venture, but maybe Dustin sees he's already behind. He's going to have to start the Mewtwo war and hope Colin misses in response.
And the thing about the Mewtwo war too, again, Mewtwo war is just the slang term for when Mewtwo's are just battling against each other. And the thing is that in the position that it's in now, they're basically both even, because the one prize won't matter in the end. Like, it's still 3 Mewtwo's to 3 Mewtwo's. So that's one way that Dustin can kind of even things out and kind of negate that advantage. Unfortunately, Dustin did play both a Mr. Mime and a Tropius, so Colin does have a 1 prize target if he ever needs it.
Right.
But by inciting that Mewtwo war, Dustin can kind of make that prize advantage almost nothing.
The tricky thing about the Mewtwo war is because of the X-Ball attack, whoever attaches first to Mewtwo is probably going to be KO'd first.
Yeah.
So even though the 1 prize that Colin took probably won't matter if these EXs trade off, Dustin may lose the first Mewtwo and then actually be down in the exchange by detaching first. So he might have to hope to end Colin late game and hope Colin misses the DC in a certain spot.
Definitely. And like you said before, the Eviolite on the Mewtwo is not really relevant with the laser.
That's unless they play in a different gym.
Yeah. So Dustin promotes the Mewtwo and he's going to do 80 with the X-Ball attack. The Landorus has an extra damage on it from the poison from the turn before. And what do you think about that play? You think that was like all he really had to do, or?
Yeah, that's pretty much without attacking with the Mewtwo. He was going to have to attach twice to the Virizion, which maybe he felt was too slow. Now, I did just notice, interestingly, if Colin wants to attack the Mewtwo with Landorus, the Eviolite will make a difference, I believe, because he'll do 130 plus 30 on the laser.
So 160.
So that could be interesting. I wonder if...
And Colin has an interesting decision because he had a switch in his hand, so if he really wanted to go for it, he could switch, promote the Mewtwo, and even then, it's not really that big of a deal because he can still just retreat back because Mewtwo has the floats on it. But I think he's trying to be a little bit more conservative, and I think he knows that he's kind of far ahead and doesn't really need to put himself in an awkward position and waste resources. Yeah,
it's an interesting play because it doesn't look like the Landorus can KO that Mewtwo unless Colin runs a Scrapper, but it doesn't seem like that would be that important for his deck.
Yeah. Would you have done the Switch Juniper play? Hope to knock out the Mewtwo?
It's hard to say. Yeah, it's hard to say not playing a deck, but yeah, generally when there's an opportunity to get ahead, I like to take them because you can with certain decks you can play to not take prizes early, but there's a lot of uncertainty when you go that route. If you have a chance to really take the lead, but it's very deck dependent.
Right. Also, in fairness, we haven't seen Colin's deck, like the actual the contents of it now with the prizes. Like, there's a lot that we don't know.
Definitely. Definitely.
So Colin's just going for it, being very aggressive.
Wow.
He does have the second Landorus with 1 energy on it.
Right.
So he's not leaving himself completely bare, but he is just kind of saying, like, I think I can just race you. And
so that Eviolite ends up making a difference, actually.
Yeah. And
and Tails on sleep. Wow.
And if Colin does have the Garbodor out, so if Dustin stays asleep, the Mewtwo will be knocked out. Or sorry, if he stays in the active position, the Mewtwo
won't get an attack off. So now it goes from being even worse than if it was just KO'd directly.
Right. Wow, that's really rough shape for Dustin.
Oh, he's got the switch.
The switch. Okay, and he switches into the Mewtwo with the float stone, so he has free retreat anytime he wants. Poison heals off. Dustin making a note of it. Both players are pretty good about playing, not super slowly, but at least playing like clearly what they're doing. And especially when you're in top 8, you don't want to have any mistakes around misunderstandings or anything. And both players are very good. Top of the game. They respect each other. So
2 long-time players. They've been through it all, I'm sure.
Definitely. So one of the things we've been talking about a lot on stream that maybe you can give some insight into is with the new 50-minute rules, and now it's 75 minutes. But
Right.
when do you grass on the Mewtwo? So he could. Dustin's being very aggressive, considering it. When do you think about scooping in a typical game of 50 minutes? Like, is it earlier than before, and do you like having to play best of three?
Yeah, it's very hard to say. It varies for different games. If you ideally in this format, you would want to scoop early because it's in your best interest to try to finish your games, but it's so hard to tell. And from my experience playing with Blastoise, I mean I've come back. That can come back against decks like Plasma, Darkrai, and take wins, even though the first 5-10 minutes don't look too good. So it's a really hard decision, especially when if the third game doesn't finish, you may by conceding the first game you may be resigning yourself to a tie if you maybe could have come back and won.
So we see Dustin attaching the grass to the Mewtwo, and then X-balling and lasering to knock out the active Landorus. That's very aggressive.
It is, but he has the lead now, and that's a surprising result from given the first couple turns of this game.
Definitely, and if Dustin's kind of putting everything into that Mewtwo, if Colin can respond with a knockout of his own, it'll be big. I mean, Colin can definitely respond with a knockout of his own because the Mewtwo has damage on it already.
Yeah.
But it'll be really interesting how this exchange plays out, because ideally he's going to want to attack with the Landorus, not to open himself to a Mewtwo War, right?
Exactly, yes. That's the advantage Colin has, is he doesn't have to devote the Mewtwo to KO Dustin's Mewtwo.
And again, just like we talked about before, the prizes work out in such a way that both players still have to knock out 3 EXs at this point.
Yeah.
There are some non-basics or non-EXs on both sides of the field, but I think again that's kind of what Dustin's hoping for, is that 5 and 4 is almost the same in this format.
Right.
Was that very similar? Like back, I didn't play back when they're the old EXs, but they had the same rule, right? The 2 prize rule.
Yeah, there was the same rule, but there weren't quite as many basic EXs. So you had a lot of. I'm trying to think now. Like Metacham EX was evolved.
Right. So you had more non-EXs.
There were more non-EXs. There wasn't Catcher.
Right.
So it would be easier to put up non-EXs, and the opponent couldn't really do anything about it.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. And so, Mike, fix the camera, please. Sorry, Colin. Got a little excited and hit the camera. You do it. Like you tell him. Turn it. Sorry, a little technical trouble here. Mike Newman from On the Bubble trying to fix the camera a little bit. So, but we did see Colin respond with the Landorus.
Yep.
So putting himself in a really good position. There's not really much of a way.
Hey, I went 3 and 4
today. Game's still going on. All apologies, guys. It looks like Dustin has attached. He's promoted the Mewtwo with the Float Zone, obviously, free retreat.
Right.
Excuse me. And there we go.
So it looks like he attached the Virizion.
Yeah, attached to the Virizion. I think just kind of accepting that he can't. He's not going to be able to knock out the Landorus anytime soon with that Mewtwo. And again, like you said, the first person to attach is often the first person to get their Mewtwo knocked out. We've seen an end here. So, how do you feel about it in general? Do you think it's good for the game or bad for the game, or at least this format?
It's an important card for the game that keeps kind of balance, because it allows comebacks. Because otherwise, so many decks, once they draw into their 10-card hand, have their Catcher, their Dark Pad, Superior Energy Retrieval for different decks, then I think we'd see a lot of more games decided in the first 10 minutes without N. But it's also a luck factor, because you can thin out your deck all you want and still just draw that 1 or 2 bad cards.
Right. I always say that I think N is healthy for the game. I think it's balanced, but it does create a sense of frustration. Even if it's fair, like it is hard when you're winning, 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 and then your opponent top decks an N and is able to just kind of set you back. And I think it's important for the game. I agree with you, but I know there's a lot of N haters out there.
Hmm.
So it looks like Dustin is just going to Tropical Beach.
Oh, a tropical beach. Dustin played that. Is that
Yeah,
right?
Dustin
Interesting.
played that.
So he's got. So he is. All right. Is Dustin playing laser? Yeah, Dustin's playing
Dustin
lasers.
is playing laser.
So he has Verbank and Tropical Beach.
Yeah. A lot of stadiums out here, and I think again Dustin doesn't really have anything to do on turn one besides Atropius, and so I understand why the
Okay,
beaches
so
are
it looks
there.
like he did the return attack.
Oh, he did. Okay. So Colin taking his time to Landorus. Looks like it's poison. Did he play a laser?
No, that was the 10 from the Tropius attack.
Oh, right.
It also draws up to 6
Gotcha,
into Dustin's hand. So Colin's entering the point of the game, I'm noticing, where he can start to plan out. He probably wants those energies on the Landorus to take out one of Dustin's EXs and then figure out how to take the last prize after that. Even DC Mewtwo catcher Mr. Mime could take the third prize after. If he has a couple catchers, he could knock out the Viriz off Landorus and then set up the Mewtwo to KO the Mr. Mime later to finish off his 6 prizes.
And we do see that he has the catcher for the Virizion.
Yeah.
He also has a bicycle, and I believe a juniper.
Yeah, he doesn't have an energy yet.
Yeah. He's gonna laser.
I suppose he could also. Oh, he could also 80 KO the Tropius without discard, and then he'd be one Landorus discard attack away from game.
Right, I think that's what he was planning for. I think that's why he
Yeah.
kept the catcher before he.
Yeah, that makes sense. That seems stronger.
Yeah, definitely. Leaves you less exposed, and the Mr. Mime is not going to be turned on anytime soon. It doesn't really matter. And if he would have, the perfect job would have been a fighting energy there, attach 80 to the Tropius, and just kind of force Dustin to essentially concede, but at least have some kind of answer.
Yeah, the Tropius has probably what, 80 or 90 HP. Does it have more than that?
I'm honestly not sure, but it can't be more than has 100.
100 HP, but it's poisoned and has
Yeah,
10,
it'll
so
die
80 will
probably.
KO it. We see a rescue scarf for Colin. Can be a very good card in this deck. Sometimes it can be helpful in the Mewtwo war sometimes.
Definitely. We see Colin get a fresh hand of 7. No energy except for the DCE. I don't think he's played a DCE yet. I don't think I've seen one. Maybe one.
Yeah, I guess not. He discarded, 3 whole fighting from
Yeah.
the first Landorus?
So I think it's definitely safe. Typically, I might say save your DCs for your Mewtwo's, but here, when he can kind of almost force the game shut, as well as he has 3 DCs left in his deck.
Oh, interesting. He wants to get rid of that Mime.
I guess the Mime and Tropius are very similar.
Oh, you know what? Does the Tropius have fighting resistance?
Oh, maybe we don't actually know. Does Tropius resist fighting? That very well could be. All apologies, Tropius isn't really a very played card in the world today, but it does have fighting, so
Okay.
it wouldn't have gotten.
So yeah, he didn't have the KO there. So, but now he is set up for one big discard attack on an EX.
So is that rescue scarf on the Landorus then? It's not really.
It
really
looks
attached, but
like it.
I guess
Everything
has
else
to
has
be.
a tool. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess so. Dustin here, I guess his biggest hope is to, I guess.
What?
It looks like Dustin considering dropping a grass on that Vrizian. It seems like the only real option he has though is to try and either catcher stall something or laser stall.
Yeah.
Because he's essentially dead on board. Like that Landorus will knock out anything besides a trophy.
Yeah, he'll have to put. So Colin has 2 prizes left, so he can hope to stall with the Tropius. Hope that Colin doesn't have a catcher.
I do believe Colin has a catcher in his hand. Could be wrong about that, but I do. Do you think so? So obviously Dustin has no way of knowing
Colin
that.
has a catcher.
Dustin's gonna computer search. What do you think he's looking for here with this computer search?
Well, an interesting play would be computer search for an N. Although the beach in play, it might not be as useful.
Right. Because the thing is here is that Dustin just needs to. I mean, I guess he can computer search for an N attached to the Virizian or the Mewtwo, and then if he has nothing else, he can Tropius. But even then, like he just needs to. I feel like he needs to get something going and.
Yeah. I suppose he could also hope for the double laser flip. That could turn around things.
That's one way that he wins. For sure. Still debating over what to discard with that computer search. He has one grass, and now it's looking like a catcher being discarded. Hopefully we can see what he's going to grab.
Looked like he got the Eevee. Oh, he was thinking about the Eevee at least. He may change his mind. Oh, and now it looks like I think he's getting the N.
Okay, so smart play. I feel like again, like you said, the tropical beach being there kind of just basically the N only slows him down for a turn, but
yeah, but he's in a desperate spot, so
definitely. And unless something wacky happens, and unless Dustin draws, I guess, the laser off of the N, by getting the N, Dustin is kind of committing himself to sending up that Tropius, right? Like he's sending himself to kind of hoping to.
Yeah, I think he has to send up the Tropius. Well, right, yeah. He either has to send up the Tropius or get a double laser flip, or he will lose.
And Tropius has a second attack, I believe. I'm not sure what that.
Yeah, it does. 20 plus 20 for each energy on the opposing active.
Okay, so it's kind of like a little mini X ball.
Yeah, so I believe it would do 100, which actually pretty strong for a little non-EX basic Pokemon.
Definitely.
Colin just needs a catcher, though, to take his last prizes.
Dustin hand is DCE, I believe, catcher, and 2 unknown cards. And there's the 100. And Colin has a Skyla. Shows him the Skyla, gonna get a catcher, and Dustin's getting ready to concede.
Yep.
Which is back to us. So Colin Moll takes game 1 pretty handedly. Do you think that's probably indicative of the how the matchup goes? I mean, I didn't really see any misplays there.
No, I didn't see any misplays. I think Colin went first. He had a strong turn 1 with an attack, and Dustin had no energy attachment on turn 1, so Colin was really ahead the whole game, and he finished it through.
Yeah, in fairness, Dustin had a pretty slow start. I think that game would have been a lot different if Dustin could at least do something on turn 1 and
definitely
then get an Emerald Slash on turn 2. But maybe that's just how it works. Maybe this big basics deck is just so much stronger than every other's deck. We're gonna don't have any results back yet, but we have some people watching those games. We're gonna get you notified on that. Definitely, again, thank you to Top Cut Central for sponsoring us. And if you guys like the stream, or if you want the stream to improve, or whatever you'd like, go to topcutcentral.com. The web store is going up soon. For now, you can buy the playmats that you see Colin and Dustin playing on. You can sell them bulk. Go to facebook.com/OTBPokemon to keep up with everything we're doing. So you pretty can't be too disappointed in the top 16, right? Not
Yeah, it's mixed feelings. I mean, I played 14 rounds, so 30 or so games, and missed by a point. But yeah, definitely getting some points. Every point matters.
Came out with your 5th box of Plasma Blast.
Yeah, I have.
Game.
I have a bunch of Plasma Blast boxes from these 2 regionals in the KO still.
Right. Too bad the KO doesn't give championship points.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Alright, so we're going to see Dustin opting to go first. Looks like he's starting a Virizian. Doesn't have any other option. And Colin Mulligans. We don't see anything too interesting. Some stadiums, some switches, and some energy. So far, I haven't seen anything too wacky out of either of the lists. It seems to be pretty normal.
Yeah, the Eviolite surprised me from Dustin, but it looks like he had a couple at least.
True. maybe that was just a reaction. I mean, I think this whole Virizion Mewtwo deck might have um, gotten a popularity partially because of the big basic deck doing better than people thought, and like being able to attack their Mewtwo or something. Because the format's obviously changed a little bit, but again, back then, stage 2012, like if you didn't have Mewtwo's, you essentially couldn't beat a Mewtwo. It was just the
Right.
most powerful thing. I remember
Yep.
I was in a feature match versus a local player, and I didn't. He had complained to me earlier in the day about not being able to afford Mewtwo's, so I went on like an aggro Mewtwo plan and just won simply because of that, because you just didn't have the cards. And
Yeah.
a little bit different now. We have Black Ballistas and Genesects and stuff,
Yeah.
but
Darkrai.
Mewtwo remains very powerful. So we see a lone Trubbish for Colin, and we see Ultra Ball getting rid of two supporters.
I wonder if there's a turn one possibility here. There's the Mewtwo. There's a DC. Wow, that's
Oh,
game.
wow. Dustin Zimmerman takes a turn one win versus Colin Moll. Remember, again, in a few weeks, November 9th, that won't be able to happen. The
Yeah.
new rules are being changed.
UK
That the
Dustin playing lost, and I just lost to Viriz.
Okay, so we have word that the Kling Kling.
Justin with Bikini X, and then Darkrai Garbodor just not.
Okay, so it looks like Justin Phillips won with Victini, Terrakion, Driftblim, beating a Virizion Genesect
Wow.
deck. These matches have been over quick. It's only been like 30 minutes. Do you want to switch back to the game, cheers? And the Kling Kling deck, Justin Crossley, been playing Kling Kling all day. We've been really into that deck. Lost
He
to.
beat me twice.
Did he really?
My only two losses.
Oh, wow. Lost to Stephen Clark with Darkrai Garbodor. So those two will be playing each other. The top four, Darkrai Garbodor and Victini Tracheon Drifloon or Driftblim. So we'll see that in a little bit.
Yeah, I would favor the Terrakion deck in that matchup, certainly.
Oh, I think you have to. So how do you feel about the new rules changes while the players are shuffling up? Do you think they're all good, mostly good?
The turn one and catcher
Yeah.
changes. Yeah, I think those are both going to be good. I know the flip will be annoying sometimes. We'll have some games coming down to flips, but it's definitely going to make the format more open. I think more decks will be playable. Evolution decks, their little basics will be able to survive that turn more often and get to actually evolve. I think there'll be a lot of interesting decks, like counter decks will be better, because it used to be if you played like your one counter thing that was great, they could always just catch it and KO it, and now that won't be as possible.
Right. I think that originally I had thought that the rules change with the catcher wasn't all that good. But then I remember that the only reason that catcher was as prevalent as it was last format was because of junk arm.
Yeah.
Reversal when reversal was around.
Right.
And reversal or catcher will be nearly as prevalent now without the junk arm in the format.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
So we have Colin gets to go first. I think that's a huge advantage against a lone Virizion on Dustin's side. It's gonna Skyland. No energy in hand, doesn't look like.
Yeah, he could get the energy search to get that turn one attack. Missing an attachment is pretty bad for a Landorus deck, because it really wants to get up to that 3 and be threatening with the big attack.
Definitely. So it looks like he's going to get the energy switch. I think he just has to. He has to try and... going first is a huge advantage, but it's not really an advantage if you don't attack
Yeah,
first. So.
as long as he has a supporter in hand, that seems like a good play.
Dude, nice.
So you see Colin just checking through his prizes, making sure he knows all the counts in his deck and what is prized.
So you said Colin top 8 Nats back in, I think it was 08, right?
Yeah, top 4, yeah.
He played a rogue deck for that one, didn't he?
Yeah,
Torterra?
Torterra, yep. That was
League challenge players.
07, I believe. Oh, maybe it was 08. 08, I think. Yeah, 08, 2008.
Mike. Check your phone. Check your text. Fortunately, Colin's not going rogue here exactly, but he is in top 8, so that's a very important accomplishment. Could very well be moving on to the top 4.
It's fairly rogue. I mean, this this was definitely Rogue 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Wonder if he was testing it before that, or if he saw its success and has been testing it the last couple weeks.
Yeah, we saw Steven Tobacco and a couple other California players come up and go in the top. I think they both lost, and then we saw Grant McClellan, obviously from Washington, winning Vancouver last week. So not exactly rogue, but definitely a little bit unexpected for the past few weeks. See Dustin with the again. Colin does get the energy search, attaches to the Landorus, going to hammerhead with looks like a Mewtwo and a Landorus on the bench. Dustin's going to attach to his Virizion, attach an Eviolite. Going to drop a Beach Laser for Tails. And hopefully he has a supporter here. I know he's an Ultra Ball in hand, so he has a Skyla considering playing.
The Eviolite's going to be very strong against reducing Landorus's hammerheads from 30 to 10. Perhaps the Eviolites were indeed for this new Landorus archetype that's been emerging.
Right. So we see Dustin Skyling. I think he pulled a computer search to the front, looking through his
Yeah, that's a pretty aggressive play, considering he's looked like he was setting up for a big beach this turn.
Yeah, I think he is. He's 2 cards left in hand, so he could computer search, discard those 2, get a Pokemon play, and then draw 7.
Yeah, it feels like kind of a waste of the computer search, to be honest. Because it's not just getting another Pokemon play. Actually, he doesn't play the computer search.
No, he just keeps it. Yeah.
So yeah, I guess he's looking for be as explosive as he can next turn.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of that computer search is just kind of insurance against not drawing energy, I guess. Or not drawing exactly what he needs, a Genesect 2 or something to put the energy on. And we see that he does not have the energy to fuel Emerald Slash, so I guess it's good that he did that. Colin's playing Scoop Up Cyclone, so I didn't mention that.
Is he?
Yeah, that's the A-Spec he's playing.
That seems good in this type of deck, probably in this matchup.
Yeah, we see that in the front of Colin's hand there. Yeah, I mean, I remember back in the back last year at Cities when the Landorus decks were everywhere. I don't know how big they were in your area, but they're huge in Washington.
Yeah, well, I started playing it it started to emerge in Cities, and I started testing it for Winter Regionals, and then won the States with it. So at States, it was really everywhere, and then started to get hated out with extra scrappers.
Yeah, and I remember back in Cities before we played Garbodor in it, a lot of people were playing Gold Potion because it was especially in our meta, like we played it because it had we were all playing big basics. It was very back and forth, and Gold Potion was basically just skip your turns. What that card said, like skip your opponent's turn. So
yeah.
Cyclone is a very similar, very kind of let's reset things. Like you're 2-shotting me, and now you're essentially 3-shotting me. A little bit different now. Especially because the format is a little bit more diverse, but still useful. We see Colin discard it, so we won't be seeing this match, but maybe if Colin advances to the semifinals.
Yeah, those types of cards could be great in certain matchups, but then against decks like Blastoise, they're almost completely useless.
Definitely.
So it's a trade-off.
And then we see Colin promoting the Mewtwo with the DCE, and he's going to do 40 after the Eviolite.
Interesting. So
just trying to protect his Landorus, I guess.
Yeah, that's surprising given Colin knows that Dustin searched out the computer search. So Dustin could go for Switch Mewtwo DC Laser here.
Yeah, it's a really risky play by Colin.
Yeah. Although if Dustin goes that route, he won't get to get the boost from Virizion's attack, getting more energy on the field.
Right.
So this could be interesting how this plays out.
Yeah, it's kind of a decision of like, do you want to be immediately aggressive or kind of build up for next turn?
Yeah.
And the future of the game in general. Fortunately, because Colin's doing that, because Colin's being pretty aggressive with his Mewtwo, if Dustin does choose to Emerald Slash, he can't really Emerald Slash onto his own Mewtwo because this will spell instant death for that Mewtwo. So he's going to have to build up a Genesect or a Buffalon or something else.
Right. So here we see the computer search.
Discarding N and Genesect. And according to Mike, that is Dustin's only Genesect, so I guess he doesn't value it too highly in this matchup.
Yeah.
Mike could be off by a number or two, I guess, but they're pretty much best friends, so I'd expect him to be correct. Didn't see what he computer searched for. Did you catch that?
No. We'll see if he's going for the Mewtwo route or set up more. It looks like he wants to set up.
Emulating everything. Laser. That's Tails. Oh, he's got Juniper. I'm going to assume he computer searched for the Juniper. I'm not quite sure. I didn't see.
It looked like it was for the grass.
Oh, okay, that's a very real possibility.
But it might have been for the Juniper.
Bouncing his own Tropical Beach with a Burbank. I'm going to add extra damage to that Mewtwo. And playing two Mewtwo's of his own. So this is something, again, I think maybe trying to entice a Mewtwo war. Both players tied at 6 prizes each. We have 35 minutes left. We had a very quick game too, so it should be able to finish out this game. And even though it's kind of odd, even though Colin's very ahead, both players are still at 6 prizes, and anything could happen here. I mean, Dustin's about to Emerald Slash. I think Dustin realizes though the Emerald Slash is pretty risky considering that.
Yeah, perhaps he'll consider one on each Mewtwo and force Colin to have at least another energy plus laser plus catcher.
Right, and also, even if Colin has all that, then he's overcommitted to his Mewtwo and has 3 energy, meaning a second energy on either of the Mewtwo's for Dustin will KO that Mewtwo.
Right. If Colin attaches the third energy Mewtwo, he'll still only have 1 energy on the Landorus, keeping it a turn away from being a threat.
Well, it looks like he's putting both on the Tropius. So he's seen, I guess Dustin's playing the Tropius almost like it's a mini Mewtwo. He's been using that attack twice.
It almost feels like Dustin kind of knows he's a little bit behind and is kind of hoping to even things with the non-EX Tropius doing some significant amount of damage. Maybe, let's see. So the Mewtwo's at 80. It's poison, so the Tropius would currently do 60 if the Mewtwo stays active and poisoned. It could knock it out and play. That would offset the Mewtwo war.
Definitely. And additionally, that's one. That's 2 more prizes Dustin gets to take. Pokemon he knocks out, but again, that's also just a Mewtwo that he gets to get rid of. So Colin has access to 1 less. I don't know if Colin plays Super Rod, but either way, 1 is in the discard pile. So
yeah, he might not have Super Rod since he might be relying on the Rescue Scarves instead.
Very true. And the Scoop Up Cyclone.
Yeah.
Colin making some considerations.
So it looks like he heavy balled for another Landorus, maybe just getting that card out of his hand.
Yeah. Garbodor, right, in this situation, not too relevant right now. Colin probably feels like he can get a Garbodor whenever he needs to. Especially probably doesn't want to get it catchered and stalled on.
Because it looks like it has a scarf attached, so that's the iffy thing about playing non-Floatstone in Garbodor now. Of course, the deck used to, Floatstone wasn't out states a year ago, but then you had Force Switch to make up for that.
Definitely. And I think that's really part of what made the Darkrai Garbodor deck that won the KO so good, and this deck very good. Just that not having to rely on having switches and basically having an infinite amount of switches, because there were games back then when we were testing the old Garbodor decks that sometimes you would just run out of switches and just lose, especially against Landorus decks or other kind of sniping decks. You could actually just lose by prizing 1, using 3, and then you're stuck.
Floatstone definitely made Garbodor more viable.
Definitely.
But people have responded with Tool Scrappers and other decks that aren't shut down too badly by it.
Definitely. So see a DCE on the Mewtwo?
Yeah, it looks like Colin's retreating and can go back to Landorus. So we kind of see that instead of a Mewtwo War, both the first game and this are kind of a delayed Mewtwo War where both players are trying to figure out what else they can use to get ahead. Looks like Colin's gonna try to put 30s on the Mewtwo. Again, without using Mewtwo, so that Dustin can't respond with the KO.
Right. Well, Colin looks like he's considering playing a laser here.
Yeah.
Masters, video game
8,
players.
9, 10, 11.
This is it.
So if he plays a laser
Match.
and the
You guys will have best 2 out of 3.
Mewtwo stays active,
And then the
it'll
winner
allow
will be
him.
the champion.
So he does not play the
Are you
laser.
guys ready?
That would allow him to,
All right, then let's count them down.
in 2 turns,
3,
do the
2,
land
1.
judgment for 80
Let's battle,
on the Mewtwo
trainers.
for a knockout. Because he goes
Yeah, if
60,
it's-
90, 170.
Right, yeah, if it stayed active.
But it looks like he doesn't value all that. I guess he probably assumed that it wasn't going to stay active.
Yeah.
I think Dustin wants to try and save his Mewtwo's with the Mewtwo War as much as possible. This is actually one of the more setup kind of games we've seen lately. Both players still at 6 prizes. Damage on the field, but there's a lot of setup happening. This matchup seems like one of the more intriguing ones of the format.
Yeah. And both are in a final game 3 now, so everything depends on this game.
See Dustin play Tool Scrapper, getting rid of a Float Stone and a Rescue Scarf.
That actually could open the door for Garbodor being played, because now it won't have to worry about being trapped, because it could attach a Float Stone
Right,
to a future
exactly.
Garbodor. So I wonder if that'll come back to bite Dustin.
On the other hand, it does kind of trap the Landers there. I don't think that.
Right, but
Colin-
he could have chosen just to.
Right. He could just to get the Rescue Scarf off.
Yeah, I think you can do that, right? Just choose one. It's up to 2.
Yeah, because you can do you don't have to do your own if there's 2 in play, but you can do your own.
Right.
So yeah, you can just choose one. And obviously, I don't think Colin wants to retreat his Landers anytime soon. I think he's fine with attacking with that and even letting it get knocked out. But it does add a little something. Looks like our game between Evan Baker and JW Crywall will still going on. I think they're in a game 3, not quite sure. This event has been progressed pretty fast. It's 4 o'clock right now. We've had 5 Swiss rounds on this top cut round done in 6 hours, 7 hours, so about normal.
We started at 8 a.m. this morning.
Oh, right, I thought we started at 9. Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
so
It's going quicker today, so that's been good.
yeah, definitely. It's also apparently the biggest regional ever.
Really?
I'm not sure if it's counting everyone. But,
What number did we hit? Do you know?
357?
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds like the
Masters.
biggest ever.
So we see a Bianca from Colin. I think it's going to go ahead and draw him 4 cards. Colin has the full bench loaded, ready with Mewtwo's and Landerses. And we see Dustin. So he has committed the energy to the Mewtwo's, which we had said that you might not want to do. But luckily, he's able to commit energy to 2 of them now, so he can
Yeah.
immediately kind of respond and win the Mewtwo War.
Yeah, so Dustin knows he has the responses, but he will go down in prizes. So if Colin also has the responses, he would eventually win.
Yes, exactly.
And Colin still has that Landorus with 2, which can effectively be one of those responses, potentially.
Right. Because the Mewtwo does have 30 on it, the bench Mewtwo. So it would take Colin having to discard all of his fighting on the Landorus, but if it's going to win the game, if it's going to get him significantly ahead, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, the way this is playing out, it does seem like that Landorus is sort of the trump card in the matchup. It just seems like it can do much more damage than Dustin's Virizions, and the Mewtwo's kind of counter each other.
Definitely. So you see Dustin promoting a Tropius. I guess just not wanting to commit the Mewtwo before he has to.
Yeah, well, the Tropius could offset the prize math because Colin has 4 prizes left, and if he has to KO the Tropius, he'd still have to KO 2 EXs, like you were saying before. So that could work really well for Dustin if Colin can't catcher around it. I'm not sure how many catchers have been used already.
Yeah, not quite sure on the counts there, unfortunately. Does a Tropius KO the Mewtwo here?
So it looks like it would do 60.
So with a laser.
So it needs a laser. So Dustin will be drawing 6. So there's a fair chance of that.
And I didn't see the laser.
Yeah, it looks like no laser. Dustin has a catcher.
Gonna play Mime on the bench.
Yeah, Dustin really wanted a laser there because doesn't look like he can KO anything this turn. He's already down. Well, sorry, he can retreat to KO with the Mewtwo, but that's kind of what he wants to avoid doing that.
And so he plays the second Mewtwo here. So an interesting thing that I think he can do, if he wanted, I'm not sure what he plans to do yet, but he can either attack the Mewtwo with the Tropius, and it's not going to knock it out. Let the Tropius get knocked out, and then KO the Mewtwo with a Virizion, putting energy on the other Mewtwo and loading him up.
Yeah. So that would put. So after that, hypothetically, Dustin would still be on 3-4. So the Tropius is good and it could offset the math, but looks like it's going to go for the quicker plan with the Mewtwo and hope that Colin doesn't have a DC himself.
Yeah, so very aggressive by Dustin. I'm not sure I like that play personally, but it's certainly reasonable.
Yeah, I think the play you're describing might have worked better, but it would have been more involved over the next couple turns, like relying on Colin not having energy and the catchers he needs. So with this faster attack, it is making Colin have a response now, but it looks like he has a lot of things and an N now.
So Colin had the DC in his hand, but he chose to attach the fighting to Landorus. So I think he just wanted to make sure that what happens, if anything happens after this N, he can still 150 the Mewtwo to KO it if he needs to. Didn't want to commit the DC to the Mewtwo and then not find a float stone or a switch. And also didn't want to attach the DC to the Landorus because he knows that the Landorus is probably getting knocked out anyways on the next few attacks, and he doesn't want it. He wants to save his DCs for the Mewtwo's.
Yeah, but assuming this Landorus goes for the KO, it's going to be left bare. So that's kind of risky. A risky ploy to go for when you're going to end yourself to 4 with no beach in play.
Definitely.
And that's what he's
But
going to go for.
I think Colin might be thinking, if Dustin still has 4 prizes, he can't currently knock out my Landorus with anything on board, really.
Yeah, so Colin definitely has some time.
Yeah, Colin has some time, and if he can kind of lead Dustin into a trap where if Dustin ever tries to attack with a Mewtwo, Colin can just surprise him and get him there.
Absolutely.
And a head. So I think that's Dustin's first heads of a laser
Yeah.
all match. It's super odd. So have you tested the Virizion deck much at all, or?
Only against Blastoise, but I haven't played too many of these other decks lately.
Seems like we were commenting a little bit both the past 2 weeks of streaming that it seems like it's the energy is really important in the deck, and we've seen multiple players just have energy droughts, and though we've seen the super odds, like I've seen a lot of players super odd the 3 energy back in just because you often put those energies on guys that you don't know what they're doing, and sometimes they can get surprise knocked out, and it seems like the energy is the real bottleneck of this deck, if anything.
Yeah. So it looks like Dustin played an N, which is a crucial spot here because Colin, I saw he had supporters and had the N to 4 and then drew the 2 prizes. So now Colin has no energy on the field. He's only going to be getting 2 cards. This could be Dustin's opening.
Definitely. And 2 cards. Laser and a Skyla.
Not bad.
So you can Skyla for a supporter if you need to get a Juniper.
But it'll be slow though. for a deck
Definitely.
without the ability to Skylar for Beach.
Definitely. But yeah, so we have Dustin looks like he's just going to go for an Emerald Flash here. And Colin doesn't really have a good response. Like, I doubt that Dustin's going to be committing energy to that Mewtwo.
Right. So let's see. How much is on the Virizion? That's 70. So, let's see. Mewtwo DC would do 80 minus 20. Let's see.
So losing that one.
That's still, even with the laser,
60.
wouldn't quite KO.
Yeah. Seems like Colin's definitely on the plan. Unless there's something I'm overlooking or missing or don't know about Colin's deck, it doesn't look like the next turn is going to be very good for him. Maybe the next 2 turns.
Yeah, I agree with you that he'll probably just have to Skyla for Juniper. I don't see any one particular card that will get Colin to the finish line that he could search out with Skyla.
Definitely. Seems like Dustin's agonizing. He's taking quite a long term, kind of trying to figure out what to do. I think, don't know what's in Dustin's hand, obviously, but I think I might try and get a either another Mewtwo or a Bouffalant with the Ultra Ball in his hand to put the energies onto. What are your thoughts on that?
Be an interesting play. Bouffalant sounds like a good play because Dustin would like to attack with Nani-X because Colin's 2 prizes away from winning. And just making Colin get a couple more get the extra catcher to finish things off.
And one thing I guess we could see here is we could see a Tool Scrapper plus a DC on the Mewtwo is game. If he has to find a way to retreat the Landers too, so like a supporter here maybe.
I kind of don't think Colin plays Tool Scrapper.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
I can't remember if we've seen it in a couple games we streamed to Colin. I don't think so. And luckily this Landorus will not get knocked out by poison.
Yeah, what is it at?
It's at 14.
14, wow.
So it's gonna buy Colin a turn.
Yeah,
basically.
he's off by 10. That could be crucial. Otherwise, Dustin would be in a very strong position.
I mean, I think I might have used my Ultra Ball to get a Bouffalant out if I was Dustin last turn, like I said. But I think definitely with the board he has to put it on the Viriz, and he can't risk it. He can't risk putting on the Mewtwo.
No, definitely not. That becomes the easiest thing for Colin to take his last 2 prizes on.
Because in the world where if Colin does have a supporter, he would need DC on the Mewtwo, switch Tool Scrapper, and when you put the energy on the Mewtwo, you make that into just more cards you can get, different cards you can get, just more outs Colin has to win in the game. Additionally, even outside of just that one turn, it's also just bad to have in general, that laying around any time.
Yeah, because you'd have to retreat it off, or it's a easy threat for Colin to target and win for the rest of the game, essentially.
Definitely. Just Colin's taking some time. Just as a reminder,
I think it's Dustin's turn now.
Oh, sorry, you're right, Dustin.
Yeah, so Colin Skylar'd for the Juniper and passed, and with that poison damage building up, it's gonna be a close finish because that Landorus is gonna go down, and then it's gonna be 2-2. It may come down to what Colin draws off the Juniper, but
if Colin
currently it doesn't look like there's anything Colin could knock out for 2 prizes, even if he gets, say, DC on Mewtwo. Yeah. Unless he plays the Scrapper, but I'm not sure if he would for this deck. Maybe.
Yeah, because the even a DC Mewtwo with a laser leaves the Virizion 1 short. I guess I suppose it could double tails flip, and it still leaves it 1 damage away.
Right. Well, Colin would also need to get a Garbodor with a tool because Virizion's power is active right now.
Right. So that seems like it's not gonna happen. We see a Skyla for a Colress.
Yeah.
from Dustin. An Ultra Ball as well. And now Dustin's in the position where I think this deck kind of wants to be. He's not overwhelmingly winning by any means, but he's just in that position where he feels comfortable attacking with the Virizion and putting energy onto stuff. So it's basically like that's why Virizian's so good is because you get both attacks and the power, powering up your guys. So now I assume he's gonna put
Yeah, he's charging up the Bouffalont now.
Yeah.
Looks like Colin drew a Garbodor. See, and he'll play it.
Yeah.
And he's got a laser too. So, but he can't play it yet because he doesn't have the tool yet.
Yeah, so gonna see the Juniper out of Colin.
He's got a lot of cards and bicycles. So we could see a few more.
And there's a float stone on the Garbodor, so that's gonna shut off all the abilities. Yeah, I don't.
Colin has a fighting.
So if Colin,
Yeah.
uh,
Dustin's in a pretty strong spot now. He's successfully powered up other things than Mewtwo, and now it looks it's gonna be challenging for Colin to take his last two prizes now.
definitely.
He's 3 attachments away from a Land's Judgment.
One thing that he could do, just kind of double checking my math here, is he could Hammerhead now. He has the fighting in hand.
Yeah.
Hammerhead hitting the Bouffalont.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, no, Bouffalant's only one prize too.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not sure there's any outs for Colin.
Yeah. The tide of this game has changed drastically
Quite a
over the
bit.
last few turns, coming from that end of 2 that really left Colin with not much to do last turn. At the end of 2, especially after Land's Judgmenting away all his energy.
I mean, I think Colin's play here is going to be try to go Hammerhead, third 10 to the Virizion on the bench, and then if he has Mewtwo DC catcher on that Virizion, it will be a knockout.
Yeah.
The question is just whether
This could be a big flip here, because if Dustin can't, if that Virizion stays asleep and he can't get out of the active, then let's see. I guess maybe Colin can't quite KO it, but it would
be a
swing
K.
things.
Yeah, definitely. And
We got
we got
heads.
ahead, so all right. Dustin still very much in the lead. Did Colin Hammerhead last turn?
Yeah, he just
Did he put the damage on the Virizion?
looked like he put on the Bouffalont. It looks like because that Bouffalont just came down last turn, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I forgot about the Bouffer being shut
it's
off.
kind of a
after.
strange place to put it, since
I agree.
that's that one prize of Bouffalont isn't gonna get Colin to the finish line, and
Please make your
Right.
way.
Dustin's he's getting pretty close to the end as well.
Definitely. Don't like that at all. Again, we don't have perfect information, so not really criticizing these players. Like, we don't know what's in Colin. Like, maybe the whole Colin trying to DCE catcher that Virizion isn't happening because he's out of catchers, out of DCEs. It's not.
Absolutely, there's
Also-
always more things like that.
Definitely easier to sit up here and talk when we're not in the pressure of the game with money and pride and trophies on the
Right.
line. So
I agree completely that there's always more plays based on what's in the deck, what's in each player's discard pile, what you know about the counts of your opponent. That it can be hard to glean from just seeing the field as we are. But
definitely. Getting a call risk for 9.
yeah,
Looks like. That's going to be huge. I mean, just John. I don't really know what Dustin. I don't think Dustin has a way to win this turn. So
yeah.
I think he's just trying to look to
His end game is
solidifies
progressing
things.
very slowly, with both players avoiding
right.
the quick Mewtwo war end.
Definitely. And there is the DC on the Buffon. That's the third energy it needs for Gold Breaker.
Yeah, that's gonna be huge. Now, after a Gold Breaker, Dustin will be one turn away from winning, and I still don't think Colin can win next turn. You need a lot of cards.
I don't think he.
Yeah, because
can
even
at all.
that damage Virizion now has only one energy.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because I think what Colin can do. I mean, if he has a catcher, he can knock out the Buffon at any time. But it doesn't. I mean, also it opens the door for him knocking out the Tropius later. But I just don't think he has time for that.
Yeah, he might have to deal with the Buffon just because it may win the game for Dustin otherwise. But it's very unfortunate for Colin because he needs to KO an EX to finish the game, and targeting the Buffon just seems like a waste. But he may have to, depending on what options he has.
In Colin's hand, it looks like he's an Ultra Ball. I think it's Skyla.
Let's give him a countdown.
Announcements over the loudspeaker.
1. Let's battle, trainers.
Seniors VGC going on. You ever play the video game, Ross? Competitively at all?
I did a few tournaments back in the day, like Red Blue.
Right.
I haven't played the video game since Sapphire, so
Gotcha.
it's been a while. But in driving up from Seattle, Vancouver last week, all my friends in the car were playing it, so the XY game seemed pretty cool.
Yeah. So we got an Ultra Ball from Colin. So Dustin does decide to go with the Gold Breaker.
Yeah.
Putting 120 on the Landorus and just saying, you have to deal with me. I'm not even sure how Colin goes about that.
Yeah, he's in a tough spot.
Because he just can't attack with the Landorus, because the Landorus will get immediately knocked out. He has to try and attack with the Mewtwo, I guess, but that requires a retreating card and a DCE.
Yeah, and then he really needs that kind of with the safety of N so that Dustin doesn't also have DC. Although Dustin just played DC on Buffon, so perhaps he doesn't have the response. Maybe Colin has to gamble on that at this point in the game.
Right. Bicycle hits. Not a DCE. I don't know what else it got. And again, just as a reminder, that the Garbodor is turning off the Boofer ability, so the Landorus can knock it out, but then that's the game as any single... Well, it's essentially the game, because any single energy anywhere on either of the Virizions will end the game.
Well, the Landorus has 120, and the Virizion does 50. Although the...
Oh, no,
yeah,
that's true.
I'm not sure that would end the game. Although the Buffon has 30, I think, so it actually wouldn't be KO'd yet from the Landorus, doing an extra 60 even without Boofer.
Oh,
true, very true.
We see a catcher and N. Wow, N to 2. So
oh man,
we were talking about N before. Here we go.
Yeah. Luckily, we have about 8 minutes left in this game. It looks like it won't end on time. You know, both players have 2 prizes left, and the end game is progressing very slowly, but between 7 minutes and plus 3 should be fine.
Even with a turn 2 donk, it's
right.
Thankfully, this is 75 minutes is still just barely enough for this great match between 2 great players.
Definitely.
Looks like Colin has a Skyla, I think, and an N. Wow.
So
wow.
And
yeah. He just needs a switch effect for game. And he's got it.
And that's the game as the match. Dustin Zimmerman, 2-1 over Colin Moll. Dustin advances to the semifinals. I think the other match, Dustin's opponent, is still going on. I know, Ross, you got to go and get some work done, and then you're heading home pretty soon. Thank you so much for joining us. Really
this was a lot of fun. Thanks for the chance to commentate.
Yeah, definitely. See you around. Remember, TopGuestCentral.com. We're going to take a quick break, see how the players are doing, and then we'll be back for our semifinal match.